Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us here in front of Honolulu Hale today. Thank you to those who are staying in the shade, trying to stay cool. My name is Ian Schuring. I'm the Deputy Communications Director for Mayor Rick Blangiardi. I want to thank all of you for joining us for what we believe, and clearly what you believe, is a very significant announcement involving about 400 acres of land in Kalailoa. Before I introduce Mayor Blangiardi, I do want to make a couple of special introductions for elected officials and other dignitaries who are joining us this afternoon, starting with Honolulu City Council Vice Chair Esther Kia'aina. City Council Member Augie Toba. City Council Member Radiant Cordero. City Council Member Tyler Dos Santos Tam. Of course, City Council Member Andrea Tupola is joining us as well. I want to especially acknowledge former City Councilwoman Ann Kobayashi, who I saw in the crowd. There she is. Longtime supporter of this project, and thank you very much for being here. Of course, a couple of state elected officials with us as well. I see Senator Kurt Favela joining us. Thank you for being here. Representative Sam Kong, I believe I saw earlier. There he is. Thank you for joining us. Is there anybody else that I'm missing at the moment? If I am, I apologize. Thank you for joining us and being here this afternoon. So, as I said just a minute ago, a very significant announcement that we're preparing to make this afternoon. I'd like to start off by introducing Mayor Rick Blangiardi.
Thank you, Ian. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm really happy everyone is here, and I certainly want to represent and introduce, Deputy Secretary of the Navy, Meredith Berger, here that we have, but we'll get into that in a moment. Look, this has been a long time in the making, I think some 25 years, and this is a possibility that was out there, it's been talked about, discussed, and if I could just say it in a very simple way, this is what happens when like-minded people come together on a great idea and decide they're going to make it come to fruition. So the first thing I want to do is acknowledge all of our car enthusiasts out there and tell you, you guys have been incredible. We've gone now through 21 town halls. You've been there. We've heard you. We hear your voices. And we understand what this represents today for you, potentially. But today is not about you guys, so I just want you to know that. It's really about the combination and expressing our gratitude to both the Navy and the National Park Service. As Ian just said, 400 acres is not a small amount of land. There's a lot that went into this. And this map is up here today to kind of designate that. We'll get into that in the Q&A if you want. But we are really very, very grateful to the Navy. They've been a great partner in this, and certainly to the National Park Service. And I'll let Deputy Secretary Berger talk about that. But I want to acknowledge a few people. I want to acknowledge, first of all, Managing Director Mike Formby, because in the spirit of hearing everybody and what this project took, Mike did an incredible job. And he worked with the Bracklands team, I swear to you, every week on this. And so I don't know if Tony Magliola is in the audience or Tom Macarella from the BRAC team. If they're here, I didn't see them. I was looking for them. I want to acknowledge them, even though they're not here. Certainly, again, Mike was a driver. And then David Siegenthaler from the National Park Service. This was really about collaboration. This is about really vision. With all due respect to our ability, hopefully now, to apply some of these acres to creating a racetrack, but 400 acres is a lot of possibility for us and what could be good for Oahu. So, we're really excited about that. And I just have a real sense of gratitude and debt for a shared vision and the fact that that people could see this possibility and the good that could come of it, and so we got that. So I really want you to hear from this array of speakers we have today. They have a lot to offer. We're here for the questions. This is just a great moment for the city and county of Honolulu. So with that, I guess Ian is going to make the introductions as to who comes up next. Thank you all for being here today. And look, you car guys, we love you guys. I've told you that before. We love your persistence.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as the mayor said, and you can see on the map, 400 acres of land is no small task. A deal like this only gets done as part of a collaborative effort that involves not just the city and the members of our city council, but really a multi-agency effort. And so with that, first I'd like to bring up Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Meredith Berger, to say a few words.
Aloha, everybody. It is my pleasure to be with all of you, to our city representatives and leaders. Thank you for being here. I know this is something that has been long in the making, and I'm so glad to have seen so much progress because, Mr. Mayor, as you said, of good partnership that took place when everybody came together and saw the potential. And so it was about 2 years ago that we figured out that $6 million could start the transfer of the old electrical infrastructure, getting those tenants onto their new infrastructure so that we could start the first step that would make all of these transitions start to take place. Thank you for acknowledging the BRAC team who's here. It is a project of commitment and resilience and making sure that a place of such significant history, Kalailoa, that carries from its very beginnings a place of significance, of great importance. It is a place where royalty and kings come from. It is a place of significance for the Navy. And now it is a place that will continue that significance for the future of the community. There is so much potential here in all that we can do, and we are glad to be a part of it and continue to be a part of it, as well as we look at what can come from the community when we look at what the resources are that are out there and determine how to create that benefit and make sure that it is there for everybody to be able to use. So I know there's a lot of enthusiasm no matter who is here today to represent their interests, and I'm glad to see it because we're enthusiastic too. This is something that we're so proud at the Department of the Navy, the Marine Corps, to be part of this community, and so to celebrate in a day that is good for the community is exactly what we should all do together. So thank you for including us today. Thank you for being such good partners to the city, to the community, to the Park Service, and I am just excited to see how we keep moving forward. Mahalo.
Secretary, thank you for that. Thank you for being here today. The Navy has obviously been a tremendous partner for the city and county, not just with regard to this transaction, but in many different aspects of our life here on the island. But also a great partner for the city, especially in this deal, has been the Department of the Interior and the National Park Service. So with that, I'd like to introduce Superintendent Tom Leatherman with the National Park Service.
Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. So my day job is actually the superintendent at Pearl Harbor National Memorial. But the National Park Service, we do more than just manage national parks. I think when most of us think about the National Park Service, we think about places like Yosemite or Pearl Harbor. But the National Park Service has actually dozens of community assistance programs. And the Federal Lands to Parks program is one of those programs that we manage. David Siegenthaler's name has already been mentioned. David has been championing this project since its fruition. And we are excited about the opportunity to be able to work with the Navy in this case, but we work with other federal agencies to transfer excess land from a federal agency to a local or state agency so that people can access and have opportunities to recreate and to use that land in perpetuity. And that's an important part of this program of the National Park Service. We don't just help facilitate that transfer, we actually make sure that land that's transferred is forever used for public benefit and for park purposes. And so we will always be involved in overseeing this parcel. We don't own it, but we are, on behalf of the American public, are responsible for making sure that its continuing use is available and open to the public. And we're proud to have the Federal Lands to Parks program as part of what we oversee in the National Park Service. So really happy to be part of this ceremony today, and really thank the Navy and the city for really making it happen.
The recreational purpose of these lands in Kalailoa is not going to impact just the residents of West Oahu, but particularly them being in the district of Councilwoman Andrea Tupola. So with that, I'd like to invite her to come up and say a few words about what this means to the people of her district.
Thank you. Thanks, Lee. Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Superintendent Leatherman, honorable officials, honorable mayor, elected officials, car enthusiasts, community members, aloha! This monumental deed signing is so timely because the West Side is ready for a sports complex, right? There are so many community members that invest their own funds to travel outside of Hawaii to seek sports opportunities. And I pray that this is the day that we bring those opportunities here. Almost 25 years ago, late 1990s, these original plans were talked about with Mayor Jeremy Harris way back in the day, that these lands would be transferred over. And the original plans actually included things like a Pacific International Sports Complex, inline hockey and hard surface courts, open fields, community gardens, and it even mentioned the mention of a racetrack, which car enthusiasts have waited for since the closure of Hawaii Raceway Parkway in 2006. There are so many things that could benefit the community, but I will say that 10 years ago when I became an elected official, the main thing we were worried about is utilities. We had to fight hard to get a line of HECO electricity into the area. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Hunt Companies took a big part of the utilities by assuming over the water. And as well, the $6 million that Assistant Secretary of the Navy mentioned, that's no small feat. If we didn't transfer over those utilities, we would not be where we are today. So I just want to thank Superintendent Leatherman as well as the Navy for what they did, because those types of investments are what's going to really bring this to a possibility for our community to benefit from. And just as Ian said, it's actually going to benefit the whole island. So I just want to thank all of those, especially the mayor, for getting this done. What a thought! 10 years ago when I became an elected official, we dreamed of this day that this land would come over from the Navy over to the benefit the city or even the state of Hawaii. So I'm glad and I'm proud to be a part of this today. And Mayor, thank you for making this happen. One round of applause for our mayor.
Thank you, Council Member. The Council Member spoke about making a dream come true. We dreamed that this is a thing that would happen, but now that the land transfer has happened, part of executing on that dream involves actually turning it into a racetrack or park space. And I can think of no better person to help the city lead that charge than the director of our Department of Parks and Recreation, Laura Thielen.
Normally, I don't have to move the microphone down, but coming after Ian is a difference. Aloha, everyone. This is a great, great day. You know, people talk about the cost of housing driving many people to move away from Hawaii, but it's not just the cost of housing, it's also the quality of life. And Parks and Recreation brings the quality of life. The recreational opportunities, a variety of recreational opportunities, new recreational opportunities that don't leave any or exist here anymore, opportunities for your kapuna to get into a pool and do water aerobics and safely exercise and socialize, opportunities for your kids to play in a league. The west side of Oahu, even though it's been our second city for over 2 decades, we do not have a sports complex out there. We do not have these types of opportunities available to the families out there, and it diminishes their quality of life. This represents a huge opportunity for the city and county of Oahu. It represents things for the west side and again for people all over the island to be able to do new recreational opportunities like a racetrack, new recreational opportunities like other things that they haven't had access to on the west side, and also opportunities racetrack. Opportunities and things like camping, because our campsites are packed and choked with people who cannot afford to take their family on a plane for a vacation, and they rely on those ocean campsites for their family recreation and respite. So we're super, super excited about today, because now that we are getting title, we'll be able to invest capital improvement funds and to be able to start that planning and improvement needed, so badly needed for the residents in this area. And I want to really thank Mayor Blangiardi, because he's made it a core of his campaign to provide equity across the island, and that includes recreational equity. And so it's been very humbling and proud opportunity for me to work in the Department of Parks and Recreation and to provide these types of improvements for the west side. Mahalo.
just want to say one other thing. I alluded to the fact that now over the course of the last 2 years, we've set out and done 21 town halls now. And we call that and positioned it for our whole team as a journey of learning. In each and every district, as you all know, it's different. And people have different passions, different concerns, and it's all understandable. But there are certain common denominators that we've heard consistently over the course of 2 years, besides our friends from the car enthusiast. And that has been what Laura represents, how people recreate, how they play. What is the quality of life issue in that regard? And so in this particular case, I thought that, Councilwoman Topola said it so well about what this means, not only for the West Side, but really all of Oahu. So this is just a great beginning. We're excited about the possibilities, and I just want to thank everybody because it's been highly collaborative. And Deputy Secretary Berger, I don't think this would have happened without you. And I thank you for your initiative and your vision. Okay? So with that, I go to the table to sign. Okay?
Have the three of you join us, please. We'll stand behind the members of our Honolulu City Council. If you wouldn't mind joining the mayor and former council member Kobayashi, if you wouldn't mind joining us as well. Thank you.
We good? Pretend like we like each other. All right, well, here we go.
Yeah, let's hold here, please. We'll take a couple of photographs.
Laura, the question is about the amount of shoreline we have here. And yes, we actually walked through one of the parks out there. And Mike, you might be more familiar with the parcels, but it has to do with, does it include any shoreline?
Yes, it does include shoreline, a lot. So as you can see, the green parcels here that are designated in green, those are all the parcels that will be coming on over to the city under the jurisdiction of the Department of Parks and Recreation, and they have a permanent restriction for recreational use on it, and that's what the National Park Service is going to help ensure, that it will be there in perpetuity for the city and county of Oahu and recreation. That is about a little less than half of the total property, so over 100 acres of land. It's fairly large, so it's not just the shoreline, it also goes Mauka of that, but it's a significant part of the shoreline. It's currently used now, a portion of that is a old campground that we inherited from the military, but nobody's been putting improvements into it, so it's been slowly degrading. So this would be an opportunity to get the bathroom hooked back up to the utilities, maybe expand the camping opportunities as we work on some other things. But that's a significant area. It does include some cultural sites, so we would work very respectfully and slowly with community partners and other partners about the appropriate uses in the areas that are currently undeveloped.
For context, where is that green parcel in relation to, say, White Plains Beach, Nimitz Beach, etc.?
That's farther, this area here, that is in the gray. That was, the gray portion is retained by the, under the military ownership, and I think that's the White Plains Beach and the cabin area.
So is there, or was the city trying to get that part too?
We would like to open discussion with them about that, and at least we would be fine with them managing it, but I think opening it up for public usage and maybe a co-management would be a nice opportunity, but those are further discussions.
Nothing costs.
There's no cost.
No, there was no cost to this, other than the $6 million involved with the Navy. The Deputy Secretary Berger said, I would tell you, we walked all through the campgrounds, and I wanted Laura to answer that. It's just, as Laura mentioned, that our campgrounds are packed. Think Bellows. think Bellows, think in terms of tremendous trees near the ocean, some beautiful, beautiful campground sites. So we're excited about that. I know we've put a little bit of focus on the racetracks today, but there's a lot of possibilities out there. We're really excited about it. And the land is really flat. It's got to be cleared. So there's, we're ready to go. We don't have an estimate yet on the racetrack. Do you have any ideas on that? Because I know you've done some work on it. Lee Cobian.
Hi, my name is Lee Cobian. I don't like using the word racetrack. It's a motorsports park because a racetrack is really expensive, like a Formula One kind of deal. If you look at the neighbor island tracks, all it is, it's a dirt oval, couple of bleachers, porta potties, and a quarter-mile track that looks like a service road. And we're talking about that's accessible in a budget between $2 to $10 million. And so I just want people to understand this is not going to be some international thing like Las Vegas.
Yeah, but I want to do better than the porta potties. Okay, all right, come on, give us a break here. We're going to do better than that. I'm going on record right now. Yeah, no, I know, but we're going to do better than that. Okay. All right.
I remember back at the March Kapolei Town Hall, there was talk about PFAS, I think, in some of the...
Yep.
Whatever happened with that? And is the military, doing something about that, too?
Okay, Mike, I don't know if you want to talk, or Meredith, do you want to come up and talk about... I'm glad you asked that question, Ben, and we anticipated that. I want to make sure I bring up the right authority on that, so I do not misspeak, but that's been an issue with this. Okay?
Yes, so... as with all PFAS, we are making sure that we are monitoring and studying and making sure that we know it's there, and it's our responsibility to make sure that everything is right. So pending any investigation or anything that's found, that's something that we retain the responsibility for.
Okay, and I know there was a Department of Health thing or something that I think Mike had talked about. What's the status of that? It was some weird, bureaucratic thing, if I remember right.
I'll turn it out.
Let me bring up Mike on this. I'm actually glad you asked this question.
Yeah, so Ben, we submitted, the Navy and the county submitted to the Department of Health the proposed use restrictions on one of the parcels, which is 59. And so we're waiting on the Department of Health to give us a reading on whether or not they're going to accept what was proposed by the Navy. But there was not only the commitment to an investigation of PFAS and where it is on the property and whether or not it has migrated Malka or Mackay, but also the remedial plan that will be proposed. And until then, the city, in taking this property, has agreed that we will not disturb that parcel, which includes grading or intrusive activities. So we're being very conservative. The Navy's being very conservative on the treatment of PFAS. None of the other parcels that we know of yet have PFAS on them, just that one.
So then if it's determined and investigated that there's PFAS there, then that would... then the Navy would have the responsibility to work on that.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate with the Assistant Secretary Berger to get a commitment from the Navy to work with the city and county on any PFAS that is actually discovered on Parcel 59. So this transaction would not have gone through, but for the Navy stepping up and making that commitment to the cities. We're very, very proud of that.
The timeline for that, for hearing back from the Department of Health for the investigation, what would be the timeline for that?
I don't know for the Department of Health, but I know the investigation is going to be a multi-year investigation.
And I would just add, not a deterrent, it's a problem to be solved. Because if in fact it's discovered that there are things we can do to remedy. Okay? Yep. Is there a process for permits? And I guess we would just begin that in the normal scope of things and starting to get into the concept stage and what's going to come first, what we're going to build, and then we go from there. What's the time frame on permits and process? Okay.
So the deed requires that the city undertakes certain permits. One of them is for underground injection wells, and we have 90 days to do that, to go to the Department of Health. But as far as permitting for activity on the parcels, all of that is premature at this point because we haven't even gone through the planning stage.
So Parcel 59 is basically
So we don't know that yet. It depends on the results of the investigation. But right now we're looking at Parcel 60, which is a smaller parcel, as a potential more near-term facility. parcel 59 will probably be under investigation for some time.
Is the parcel large enough to support that? Where is it located?
It's 23 acres, so it's large enough to support that.
Is it how close to residences and so forth?
No, I don't think it's really close to any residents out there. You've got to go out there and see it, Ben. This is an ideal allocation of acreage here to do some really creative things. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I want to operate with a sense of urgency and excitement about this because it really is about the art of creation. I go back to what I just said a few moments ago. People really need to play. You've heard Laura talk about the fact that we don't have facilities out there. Our campgrounds are full. I don't think we can get this stuff done fast enough. It will remain a priority for us. Just to get to this moment in time was not easily done. And so we're here now. And as we attack the future on this, I will use the terminology attack the future, it will be with that understanding that we can't get things done fast enough. And I can promise you during our time here, as I told Deputy Secretary Berger, we will lay a definite strong foundation. That's our intentions on a going forward basis. Ben.
This obviously seems like a good deal for the city, so I'm wondering what the Navy was using the land for beforehand. And I guess I'm wondering what might have caused the PFAS and also what the reason was why the Navy is willing to give up the land. Does that make sense?
That's a long story. I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah. The bottom line question is, why is the Navy giving us 400 acres? What's the deal? That's sort of what he's saying. Okay.
Well, a former air station, and so that's what used to be there. And then under our BRAC programs, so it's the closure of formerly used spaces. That program makes sure that we can not have encumbered excess land that the Navy isn't using, which we weren't, and make sure that we remediate it and get it to a place that is useful for the community that it's a part of again. And so this is actually just a very good example of how the BRAC program works, but it was a Naval Air Station, which is what the history is there, how it had been used, and then when it wasn't used anymore, there were several different tenants, as we've discussed, and then as it was that electrical tenant transfer that really made the first step to be able to make the entirety of the land useful, again, in the sense of the community where it wasn't encumbered by any of the Navy uses anymore. And so it's a program that sometimes takes some time. It is managed, it is purposeful, but the end result is to make sure that it is a land that is resilient, that gives back to the community that it has always been a part of, and to make sure that it brings the benefit that is intended in this case. We're eager to see how it can really help to revitalize an area that will make such good use of it.
Yeah, I thought Tom said it really well from the National Park Service with respect to highest and best use. We all know the emergent growth on the west side. We're really just excited about this because where there's nothing there, there's opportunity for us to really create. And so, yes. Okay. No other questions? I want to thank everybody for being here. I especially want to thank the car guys. Even though it wasn't about you, we appreciate your spirit. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.